one. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Meet Me at the Well with Linda here. And our special guest today is Tiffany Nash. Yay! Hi, Tiffany.
Hello.
Tiffany, not only you can just look right now and see how beautiful she is, but her personality and her character match what you see on the outside. She's just such a wonderful person. I'm so blessed to have her here today for you to meet and for you to hear what she does and her walk with the Lord. So let me tell you a little bit about her. She's got a lot to tell you about here. She is foremost, besides being a woman of God, is a mother of three, the oldest being 15 and then the youngest being twins. And that's a lot right there.
Yes.
Tiffany is a musician, a songwriter, a singer. She is a recording artist, which we're going to hear about that a little bit here soon. She is, let's see, and we're going to hear about her book. She's an author as well as a songwriter. And she's the wife of a great musician himself, Jonathan. And Tiffany has a master's degree in pastoral counseling. So I know that Tiffany and her husband both do some Facebook live they're not really counseling, but they're open forum for people to hear about some issues. She graduated from Quest Bible Institute, and she's also an attendee of the Beulah Heights University. And I'm going to tell you that the name of her book is well, no, I think I'll say that. We'll just that'll be our cliff.
Okay.
Okay. So without further ado, I want to welcome Tiffany, and I thank you so much for coming today. And tell us a little bit about what's going on with your book, and then we'll have some conversation on that, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Well, first off, thank you for having me. So sweet. My book is still in progress. We're almost through. It's kind of been a slow fade with COVID, but anyway, we're almost there. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So we're excited. Very excited.
So, okay, so go ahead and tell us the name of the book.
Okay, it's Singing in the Pain.
And tell us what that's about.
Well,
a little bit, without giving it away, of course.
Okay. Well, it's kind of a long story. My husband was in the military, and they had ported in Djibouti, Africa. And he said that in the water, there was like a bunch of people taking a bath, and they were just as happy as could be. He said it was the worst conditions that you could ever imagine. And like 10 feet away, people were, I don't even know how to say it properly. They were using the restroom, and that's how they do it in that country. And he said they were all singing, and they were just so happy. You know, they were just, they didn't have a lot of food. They didn't have the things that we have, you know, the luxuries that we have over here. And so he said he wrote this song, Singing in the Pain, from that experience. And so when I started writing my book, it's about loss and grief and pain. It's like the Lord laid on my heart that that's what I should title my book. So I asked my husband, would it be okay if I titled it that, because that was his song. And he said, of course I could. So anyway, that's where that was birthed and came from. So it's really cool.
So I know in our previous conversation, you shared a little bit of, one thing, the pain that you had in your life. And I know to write a book like that, you must be able to not just use other examples, but have drawn from that yourself, having gone through that.
Yes, ma'am.
Could you share some of what you have drawn from personally that would be? Sure.
It might be long if you're okay with that.
We'd like to hear it. That's
okay. When I was 4 years old, I was a month away from being 5. My daddy got killed in a boating accident in a lake. It was just a freak thing. A bass boat ran over him and our neighbor and killed them both instantly. They said they never even knew what hit them. It was July 4th weekend. And so they had put buoys out to mark where the divers had, they were looking for the bodies. And so because it was a holiday weekend, the sheriff didn't want to lose money. And so he went ahead and let everybody use the lake, and the buoys got moved. So the divers had to start all over again. And my dad was in the lake 9 days before they found his body. And my mother was just a basket case, and she just had me to raise, and she had a very hard time. But I still remember like it was yesterday. So I would have been 5 in August, and he was in the Navy 16 years. I still remember his funeral. It was a military funeral. So my mom remarried when I was 6, and he was an alcoholic, and he could be abusive. He put my mom in the hospital several times, and I remember being very scared as a child of him. And he had a massive heart attack when I was 16, and he died. And so my mom was widowed twice. But before he died, he found God, and he changed his whole life around. Oh. And he and I really actually became very close. He was like one of my best friends. It's amazing what God can do in your life. He can turn things around and fix it and make it beautiful. And I just thought that was awesome that happened to him right before, he passed away. And so my mom and I, his death was very unexpected. She had, again, a daughter to raise, and now she had been widowed twice, so that was hard. We had tough times. We had tough financial times. I had to get a job when I was 16 years old to help mom pay the bills. And it was a hard, tough time. And so, but it's amazing what we can do when we put our mind to it. We're pretty tough. Women are pretty tough.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you a little bit about that in a little bit. But so let's see. You want me to just go through my whole lifespan?
Well, you're building up, so I can keep going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I lived with my mom until I was 23. I was a mom's girl. Of course, our situation with me being the only child and not having a father figure in my life, she was everything to me. So she was my sister, she was my father, she was my mother, she was my best friend. And so I just lived with her. I never gave mother any trouble. She said that I was just, I don't even remember ever her spanking me or really having to get on to me very much. If she looked at me wrong, I'd start crying. But anyway, I got married at 23. I moved out of mom's house. I moved to Tampa, Florida. And my husband at the time, his grandparents pastored a church there, and we helped him. But there was a lot of trouble behind the scenes. And so I was married to him for 10 years. And my mom really was a catalyst in that relationship. She really believed that it could be saved. And she really had a lot of faith. And she would tell me, we just got to pray. We just got to pray. We got to believe. We got to pray and believe harder. And one morning at the table, we were drinking coffee, and she said that to me. And I said, Mom, unless somebody wants to change, they're not going to change. God can change them all day long, every day. But unless he wants to change, then he's not going to change. And so I did file for divorce. Abigail was 3 years old, my oldest daughter. And so, we had for about 2 years, we were kind of just on our own and trying to raise a child. And that's hard, by yourself, being a single mom, no help. And then Jonathan came in my life. And that has been like the most blessed thing in my whole entire life. But we have had a lot of hurdles and battles that we have had to fight and overcome with things. I had been, let's see, I started to talk about the twins. Let me back up a little bit. We had been married about a month. My mom got sick, and they admitted her in the hospital. She was in just a regular routine doctor's visit, and she had an irregular heartbeat. So they admitted her and did a heart cath. And so they decided to transfer her to Atlanta. She had to have bypass surgery. And my mom was there about 31 days. Her kidneys never really kicked back like they should have. They never woke up, is what the doctor said. And so after 31 days, I went and picked her up from the hospital, brought her back home with us. But mother never recovered. Usually with that surgery, they can walk better, they can breathe better, things kind of get better for them for a couple of years, and it never did for mom. So she was very short of breath, and we didn't know at the time what was going on. And the whole time all this was happening, I was expecting the babies, and I didn't know it. And my first office visit, they said, "We see two." I just remember just looking at Jonathan like, I just really want to kill you right now. Well, I was 37 years old. I was getting older. It wasn't in my life plan, but it was in God's life plan. So I always say God has a sense of humor. He definitely has a sense of humor. So I was a little salty for a few weeks, but then I got over it. But they also told us that it was
kind of a Sarah moment, maybe, huh?
Yeah, definitely. And they told us it was two boys, and so we just went and bought boy stuff, and one day I went into the office and they said, "Miss Nash, baby A is a girl." I was like, okay, well, we all wanted a girl too. So the Lord gave us the desires of our heart. But so we went and returned everything that we had bought and bought new stuff, and it was fun. But when I was 24 weeks expecting them, I went to my specialist appointment, and the ultrasound lady, she just was acting funny, and she went out, she sent somebody else in. And then she went out, she sent somebody else in, and then all these doctors kept coming in and out. And I told Jonathan, I said, "Something's wrong. I know I have that discernment." And I said, "Please pray for me right now, because I need peace." And a little Chinese doctor came in. I don't remember her name. And she said, "Miss Nash, we're going to have to send you to Atlanta. Something is wrong with baby A's heart rate." And she said, "We don't really know exactly what it is right now. So you're going to have to go have some testing done and see what's going on." And so after about 6 hours worth of testing in Atlanta, I remember when you're expecting two babies, it's pretty miserable. By the time you're 6 months, it's just hard to get comfortable. And I remember laying on that cold, hard table for 6 hours, and you had to be so still because they had to do an echo and all this kind of, EKGs and all this stuff through your stomach into the little bitty, baby. And so it was very tedious. But Dr. Slesnick came in. I'll never forget it. Until the day I die. My mom was in there with me and Jonathan. And he said, he was so compassionate, and I believe that he was a believer too, but he had to deliver the news to me. And he said, "Baby A has something called complete heart block. His heart is beating 32 times a minute, and you need to carry these babies 3 more months." He said, "There's no way that you can carry these babies 3 more months with a heart rate that low, because he'll drown in his own fluid and die." And but he said, "We believe in," and he that's what made me think he was a believer. He was saying, things miracles do happen, things do happen. So anyway, he said, here's our concern. We have never seen it only affect one baby because they share everything. And so if one gets heart blocked, then the other one normally does. Well, London, my little girl, she was perfectly fine. And so he said, we're going to have to reach out to France and Canada, to all these medical teams and colleges and things, and see how to treat you. Because at this point, we don't want anything to happen to the healthy baby. That's what they kept saying, London was the healthy baby. And at that point, they didn't even care. Every week I had to go in just to see if he was still alive. They were just expecting just to take him. So I remember leaving that visit that day, and my husband pulled the car over on the side of the road, and he just sobbed. It just broke his heart. And I was trying to be strong for him. And we already had one daughter, and we were going to have another daughter. So this was the boy, and a son to a husband, it's like, very exciting. And so anyway, he sobbed, and we just prayed. And I said, the Lord has the last say, babe. So we're just going to, we're not going to terminate him. We're just going to see what the Lord has for us. And so we went to a big church service in Atlanta at Worship with Wonders Church, and Micah Stampley was there. And it was when the song Our God had just come out. And he got to that point and that part of that song, and the anointing was in the place. And he said, the chorus says, our God is greater, our God is stronger, God, you are higher than any other, our God is healer. And when he started singing that, I just remember standing up. I was super skinny. I don't know how I was that thin carrying babies unless they were just taking every bit of nutrients from me. I was so frail. And I remember standing up and just raising my hands and just crying and praying and put my hand on my stomach and saying, God, I know that you can heal and you can do this. And every week after that, I went in for my appointment, and he was fine. I mean, he still had a heart rate of 32. Yay. And that baby was thriving and growing. And it was just, I can still go to Eggleston today, and they're like, you're that lady. They think that it's just, it's a miracle, and they know that it is. And I sure tell them, I don't make any bones about it. I don't hold any punches. I just tell them. But anyway, I carried that baby 9 months, and it was a miracle. And I had a cesarean, and they had a whole medical team in that room. Normally when you just have like a C-section, you just have your doctor and the people that are helping. I had people everywhere in that room. It was really weird and uncomfortable. But they had this little glass box that they had put him in as soon as he was born. They immediately started working with him. And so London was born okay. They only weighed 3 pounds and some ounces. Wow. And she was okay. And they called down there into the room, and they told Jonathan, they said, we're going to have to life flight him out because, everything that we're doing for him is not working, and he has to have heart surgery. And so when they got him to Eggleston, they called Jonathan because they had to have permission to operate on him. And they said, we normally don't do this surgery until they're 8 pounds. Well, he was only 3 pounds and like 14 ounces. He was so tiny. He was only 16 inches long. So he was like a little doll, And they went ahead and did the surgery. The next night, Jonathan drove me in Atlanta traffic on a Friday afternoon, which was miserable since I had been, I had major operation, which is very painful. And he drove me. I said, I know I'm going to see that baby. I didn't care. And so he wheeled me. He drove me all the way through Atlanta, wheeled me up to that baby's bed. And the only way I know to describe it is, how when you blow in a glove and it kind of poops out? That's what that baby looked like. He was so swelled. And that was the first time that I've ever really got to see him, And it was very scary. But I couldn't get up or, I just was in pain myself, but the doctor said, if he makes it, he makes it. And if he doesn't, he doesn't. And I remember he just looked like this big, grumpy Santa Claus man. That's the only way I know to describe it in my mind. And so he broke my heart, and I sat there and squalled and cried. And anyway, I put prayer cloths on his bed, and he started making progress. He was in the hospital 3 months. And it was just, he's a miracle. We named him Judah, which means praise. And he will be 8 years old in December. So everything that they said and have said about that baby, he just keeps jumping over every hoop that they say. You know, the doctors have said, you know, this and that. They say he has autism, and he's doing very well in school. He's just really a miracle child, and he's a blessing in our life. But that was a very hard time for us. I had a preemie baby at home, so I was trying to, and maybe this is too graphic, but anyway, I was breastfeeding her and pumping for him because he needed it. He was weak, and I was taking it to the hospital every day and all the way to Atlanta, which is about 40 miles away, I would say, but the traffic is horrendous. So, you know, it would take me 2 hours every day to get there, 2 hours to get home. And that was tough, you know, I had Abigail, she was 7, and I had a preemie, and I had to go every day and deal with my other baby. And I never got to recover from my C-section. I remember walking, just bent over, but I was determined. I was determined that I was going to do it, you know.
Yeah.
And that's part of that, what I was saying, when you put your mind to something, our minds are strong, and God didn't create us to be weak.
Especially mama bears.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
We fight for our babies.
Yes. And through all that time, my mom was sick, and I that's why I stopped there and went on to this, because she still was short of breath so bad that she couldn't walk to the hospital. And she was determined. A mother's love. She would go with me. I would push her in a wheelchair, or Jonathan would. He was always such a wonderful son-in-law to my mom, and they had a wonderful relationship. But we would push her because she wanted to go see that baby so bad. And, you know, sometimes during the darkest, hardest times of our life, the people that should be there the most for us, Linda, are not. And I don't know how much I can say on here. I don't know how free it is for me to talk, but I try to be guarded. But the whole time, family members that should have been there for Jonathan and I created the most drama and things that we didn't need at that time. You know, we just needed love, and we needed loyalty. And they made things completely more miserable for us than it was a nightmare, if I can be honest. It was just a complete nightmare. And I have never, ever talked about it openly. I've just always just kept it inside, and they're in our community. And so, you know, you don't ever want to run somebody down, but they literally almost killed me. I'll just put it that way.
Wow.
So
yeah, families, you know, my parents, my mom used to say, the one who loves you the most hurts you the most.
right.
You know, and I never really got that.
Right.
But as I've gotten older,
That's a little bit twisted, huh?
yeah, it sounds twisted, but I get what she meant now. You know, I mean, especially in the environment that we're in right now, there's been so many families torn apart because of all these things going on.
Right.
So, you know, it's when we see truth and others see self,
right.
it causes some pretty big painful issues.
Right. Right. And so I agree with you. I don't understand. This has been a 10-year battle with them that I do not understand, and I'll never understand. I was having lunch with somebody yesterday, and they said, Tiffany, I just cannot wrap my head around it. You know, parents are supposed to love children, and they're supposed to be there for their kids. And it's just a very twisted situation that now we have had to just step away. There's no other way. We've tried and we've done our part. You just sometimes have to just step away, and it's hurtful and it's painful. But in order for growth and for us to thrive and for them to thrive, I think it's just better to part ways. And so that's where we're at. And, it's painful. I talked on our show the other night. I said, rejection, loss is the hardest thing for us as humans, because when we lose somebody that we love, it's so final. The grave is so final. I can't get them back. We can't undo things that we wish that we hadn't done, or we can't say things that we wish we had have said. It's just so final, and loss is so hard. But I think rejection is so hard for humans, because we're still flesh, and we just want to be loved, and we want to be accepted, just where we're at. Even if we're in a mess, just where we're at, we just want people to love us. And I think that's why I'm just so passionate about people, Linda. I just love people, because I know what it's like for somebody not to love me no matter what I do, and to want them to love me and want that relationship, and realize it's never going to happen. And so we do have to just move on and sing in the pain. We do. Pain. Yeah, we just have to move on. And but anyway, my mom was short of breath, and then things started progressively getting better for us. Judah got to come home from the hospital, and so it was just a lot of hurdles to jump over. He had MRSA that he got from the hospital. When he came home, he only weighed like 5 pounds. He was still, in 3 months, still just super tiny, and he still is. You can vouch for that, Miss Linda. He's just a little bitty thing to be almost 8 years old. I mean, he still wears like 3s and 4s. He's tiny. But he came home, and we got through it, and Mother started getting sicker and sicker and sicker. So I had 2 babies, a daughter that I did homeschool with her, and I had a sick mama, and she lived with us. And so Jonathan and I were her caregivers, and they finally found out what was wrong with her. She had pulmonary hypertension, which is a very rare disease. It's getting more common, but it is a very terrible, terrible disease. And so the lifespan on that disease is 1 year. And Mother loved me and loved the kids and loved our family and Jonathan so much that she lasted more than a year. And she lasted more than 2 years. And every day was a struggle. She couldn't even walk the refrigerator without almost passing out. She had oxygen full time. And Jonathan and I seen to it that she made it to all her appointments. I don't know how we did it, looking back, other than the Lord, because here we are, got 2 babies in carriers, trying to open doors and push a wheelchair in. But I was determined I was going to do it, because that was my mother, and she sacrificed her whole life for me and went through loss and pain. And yet she still was a great mother to me. She didn't give me away. She didn't, after my stepdad died, she never dated again. She just wanted to make sure that I was okay. And she didn't bring men in and out of my life, which I appreciate that. She was a very good person. My mom was real as real can be. She was loyal. She got loyalty. And that's another thing is so important in relationships, is loyalty. It's a lost art anymore. And when you go through things like we've been through, it just makes you be loyal to whoever is in your life. It's so important. But so anyway, back to Mom. She began to digress in 2018. She was in ICU for 3 months. And I remember taking my kids' little homeschool packets up there, and they would sit in the waiting room of the ICU, and we would do our schoolwork. And then Jonathan would sit with them, or I would sit with them, and we would take turns going back and checking on Mom and being there for her. And it was the scariest time of my life. I won't tell any fibs, but we got through it. And what I always tell women is women need women. We don't need to
Amen.
be, we don't need to be jealous of one another and have that kind of spirit. We actually need each other. And women are so strong. God has put something down in us that is so tough, really. I always tell people, you can do what you put your mind to do. A lot of ladies that I cancel with and things, I said, I took care of my mother. She was sick and terminally ill. I had 2 babies, one that was medically needy with autism. I had a 7-year-old that I had to homeschool, and I still went to college. And I got my master's degree through all of that. And so I say to anybody that feels like they can't do it and they can't get up another day, you can. And you will. If you put your mind to do it and you have God working in your life, you can do what you put your mind to do. And so anyway, my mom went back in the hospital in December of 2018. She was there 6 weeks. Maybe it was November. Maybe it was November of 2018, because she passed in January of 19. She died on January 10th, 2019 in ICU. And that was the hardest thing for me, because mom was always there, even in the bad times and the good times. She was always there. And I look back as a child and see where she was trying. I see now, when you're a kid, you don't really you can't conceive or grasp what's happening, but she would sing these little songs to me. There's a Frank Sinatra song that says, the ant can't move that rubber tree plant.
Oh yeah.
But, yeah, he's got high hopes, and she would sing that to me my whole life. Even though they say the ant can't move that plant, it did. And I realize now that she was telling me that no matter what in life, we can, one inch at a time, we can. And we used to watch this little movie, you probably know it, with Haley Mills. It's called Pollyanna.
Yes.
And she
Great
played
movie.
that little glad game, and everything in her life, she tried to make fun and glad, even though her parents had gotten killed and they were missionaries. And she still was making lemonade out of her lemons. And she always found something to be happy about. And mother would watch that with me as a small child. And my whole life would play the glad game, because it was just one thing right after another, And I look back and I see how she was trying to instill courage in me and faith. And she's just amazing. Even after she's gone and passed away, she's still, her little things that she did, and taught me is still in my heart. And everything, if I hear that song, it reminds me of her, I just cry. But I realized that a lot of times when you're in ministry, going through things like this is training and for the anointing.
Yes.
Because everybody wants the anointing, but nobody wants to pay the price for it.
Amen.
It's very painful. I mean, think about the olive and how it's, cold pressed, and it's a painful process, but when it's over, that oil flows. And I think if I hadn't been through everything in my life that I had been through, I couldn't have compassion for others. And just very recently, I was praying, God, what is my purpose? I want to know what my purpose is in life. I don't want to just go through life through the motions. I want to know what he has for me. And I'll tell you a quick story. My father had been married previously, and he had 3 children. He had a vasectomy with his first wife. This was in the 60s. And my mother was 16 years younger than him, and she wanted a baby. And so in 1975, he had that surgery reversed. It was very unheard of in the medical field then.
Yeah, that's right.
Pretty much just a guinea pig to see if it would work. And my mom said she would cry every night on her pillow to have a baby. And so in 78, I was born 3 years later. And it was just kind of a miracle. So I always prayed, God, what is my purpose? Because for me to even be here is just unheard of, back then. Now today, it would probably be an easy procedure to do, but back then it was unheard of. And so I just feel like God spoke to me and said, my purpose is people, because that's where my heart is. That's where my passion is. And I always want to serve and be there for anybody that needs me in the capacity that I need to be. And so as many people as I can reach with my story and tell them, hey, don't give up. You've got this. God didn't make us weak Christians. It may seem dark and bleak right now, but God, he's got a plan for your pain. He's got a plan for your pain, and the birthing process is so painful, and what it produces is so beautiful.
Amen. Amen.
So, yeah.
So the name of your book is Singing in the Pain.
Yes, ma'am.
And you've just shared some great testimonies and a tribute to your mom.
Yes.
So this is that little tribute is forever out here on the airwaves now. That's wonderful.
So glad she deserves it. I try not to go in the ugly cry. I have gotten to where I can talk about it without crying. I am glad that and thankful that all of this didn't happen during the pandemic, because then I wouldn't be able to be there when she passed.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful that I was, at her bedside all night long, and she knew I was, and so she's not in pain anymore. She can breathe, and she's not suffering anymore. And I have the most beautiful guardian angel. So it just helps me through, but I'll see her again one day.
So when will your book be available?
I think we're about a month out.
Okay. So by the end of November?
Yes, ma'am. Hopefully right before,
and
the holidays.
How can our viewers get that book? Can they pre-order it then if it's not ready yet? Can they pre-order?
Yes, ma'am, they can. Jonathan has an email address. I believe that do you have that email address?
I do, John. It's a J, and I'll put it below in the description.
Okay.
And and on your way down to the description, just hit the like and the subscribe button.
Right.
Yeah. But it's going to be J Nash, Nash, J Nash for Jonathan Nash, J Nash at nashvegasstudio.com.
That's correct.
Okay. And and the name of the book again is Singing in the Pain. And that's by Tiffany Nash. And it'll be available by the end of November. And so probably they just send you the email to get further information on the cost and the shipping and all that information.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Jonathan handles all that stuff for us. And we have a CD as well. They want to order a CD.
Tell us a little bit about it.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. Go ahead. Tell us about that.
We have a new project fixing to come out. We're still in working. It's still being mastered and everything. So we're still probably 4 weeks out from our new CD, but we have our CD. I'll show you if anybody wants to order one.
Ooh, yeah, that looks good. Now, okay, is the song Singing in the Pain, is it on that CD?
Yes, ma'am.
It is.
It is.
So there you go, people. So you'll want to get the CD.
Yes.
Hear the song and put the song and the book together.
Yes.
That'd be a nice gift set, wouldn't it?
Sure.
For someone. Yeah, very nice, very beautiful. And actually, I was going to play that song. but it's on now. How can they find just the song? It's, you said iTunes and
iTunes, Spotify, and Google Play. And if they want to look up our Facebook, I mean, if they want to send us a message or anything, we're under Jonathan and Tiffany Nash on Facebook.
and I'll put that link too.
Thank you. Yeah, this is a good project. We actually made this CD when we were going through some of the things that I was talking about. So anyway.
And you, and the whole production is you guys. I mean, you're the performers, the singers, the musicians. Y'all are very musical.
Oh,
and your music is just wonderful. So I've got to hear both of them lead worship at I've actually seen it at several churches and then retreats. Yes. Yeah. and just amazing talent. So I want all the viewers to like tune in to you guys. So that's wonderful.
Jonathan, I will brag on my husband really quick. To know him is to love him. He is such a good person. And I always tell him, I said, you're my blessing for all these hard times God gave you to me. You're my present. But he played every instrument on this CD, except for, I believe, the guitar parts. We had hired somebody in to come in and do those. But he is a musical genius. He's played on several people's projects that y'all would know if I told you. But he's just so humble about it, you know, major headliners. And so he's an anointed man of God. And I'm thankful for him. Well, I just have to brag on him for a minute.
You should brag on him. He's amazing on that keyboard. I know that.
I know. I don't play anymore hardly. He's so good. I don't need to. I was just a church player, you know, just a regular church player. And then he came along and I was like, whoa, I don't need to play no more.
Another level. Well, I'm so glad you were able to do this today. I know we had a little head cold last week. We had to kind of put things off, but I'm so glad you're feeling better. And I'm so happy to know you.
I'm so happy to know you too. You're a beautiful person. I'm so thankful that you're in my life. You know, it's amazing how when you don't have any family, my mom passed away and I don't have any family. I have no siblings, no grandparents, you know, nobody. It's amazing how God will strategically put people in your life and just have that heartstring bond, you know?
Yeah.
And the Lord has put people like you in my life that's mom figures to me and that are godly and that are precious. And I'm so thankful for that. So I'm thankful for you today.
Wow. God bless you both and your ministry. I know as you continue to be obedient, it'll be so fruitful and multiply.
Yes, I receive it. I receive it.
So, well, we're going to sign off for now. I'm going to hit the non-record button. And if you want to stay on for a second after I do that, thank you all for listening today. I know you enjoyed Tiffany, and I know you will love to have her book and listen to their music. So make sure you seek them out on Facebook, and they're at a lot of events around the nation. So I know you'll see them again. And just God bless you all. And we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.